get this structure. Like, we're going to talk about this tonight, and it never ends. It starts there, but never ends there.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be lying if I didn't say that I had, a sheet with some
Yeah.
things on it, but
I'm good for whatever. Yeah,
you know,
like I said, I've done a couple of these.
okay. I'm not going to do a formal intro with you.
Yeah.
We'll just keep talking, and then I'll just record an intro later.
Yeah.
The reality is, Ryan, I wanted to talk to you. We'll talk about hunting stuff, but I wanted to talk to you about personal stuff, like
Yeah.
who you are. I only know you over social media. I mean, we have
Yeah.
some cordial interactions. I don't know you personally, but I
Yeah.
feel like I get a pretty good vibe of the type of human being that you are.
Yeah.
And I think we share a lot of similar sort of philosophies as far as human beings and the world and where we're going. And so I
Yeah.
want to talk to you about that.
Yeah. The clusterfuck that might be after November.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sadly,
Yeah.
by the time this comes out, so this is going to come out in 2 weeks. We'll literally be like a month away from election. So
Yeah, it's some scary shit, man. Let me tell you, it
yeah.
is. Yeah.
And so I typically will have an icebreaker for people, usually lighthearted, and it's not that I'm not going to be lighthearted with you at all.
Yeah.
But I couldn't think of something silly to ask you. So I'm gonna do it differently. I'm just gonna say I feel like you're a person who takes great care of himself physically as well as mentally.
Yeah.
What's your favorite cheat meal?
Favorite cheat meal is going to be pizza. The pizza place is Joio's Pizza out of Lake Trode, Pennsylvania. That is my go-to. My wife knows come my B-day or whatever, if I want a cheat meal, or if I've been a good boy, I want Joio's.
What kind of pizza are you getting?
Typically, it is going to be, I have the same thing always. I've done this for, I don't know, 20, 30 years. I've been going to this place. It's pepperoni, mushrooms, and peppers. Whatever it is, the mix. This pizza is thin crust. It has so much grease on it. I mean, and it's probably the best pizza ever the next day, the morning type pizza.
Oh yeah.
But I actually get a 30 cut is what I get. I typically eat 20 pieces the first sitting evening, and the next day for breakfast, the other 10 are done. That is Moose's cheat meal if I can have it.
Tell you what, you fit right in at our deer camp. I'll tell you that much. That's awesome.
Yeah.
The reason I ask that is because I have seen you post before that you burnt a lot of calories on the mountain, and you asked your wife to pick you up something filthy. Was it filthy?
Yeah. Dirty. Yeah, something
but
dirty.
It was sweets, and so I wasn't sure
Yeah.
if your cheat meal were sweets or not.
Yeah, typically, to be honest with you, I mean, I like my sweets. Give me a piece of cake or pie or something like that. But be honest with you, I want food. I want like lasagna or spaghetti, meatballs or pizza. I want some damn food. If it's not cheat, I want something. Yeah.
Well, for anybody that doesn't know you or recognize your voice or recognize your face when they see this video, just do everybody who might not a favor and introduce yourself.
RYAN GLITZKY. I'm from Southwest Pennsylvania. Kind of everybody knows me from Moose. I've had that nickname for a couple of decades now. Big into lifting, of course, and but whitetails, man, they're my passion, man. That's what I live for, man. It's God, family, and whitetails.
I don't know that I've ever seen that background in any of your videos. Do you always record right there?
Yeah. I tell guys I'm not like flexing.
Yeah.
I just, this is where I sit. It's not to be a cockhead.
Yeah.
All my deer in the back.
Right.
To be an arrogant, I just where I sit in my game room. It's the tip where I sit, and it's majority of my whitetails are behind me right here, the ones on the wall.
What's that cat back there?
Mountain lion. I killed that.
You took that?
Yeah, killed that in Missoula, Montana. I was a young pup 20 some years ago when I killed it.
Wow. Yep. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, we had a couple deer, bear, everything in here.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you've been hunting basically your whole life?
Yeah. I started when I was 14, like everybody. Your dad take you out rifle season, and then 16 is when I grabbed the bow. And then a few years after that, I started figuring out this rut thing, bow hunting in the rut, and just took off from there, man. And every year I try to build off it.
So let's talk about Moose. Moose
Yeah.
is a very specific nickname.
Yeah.
Is it from sports or something like that?
Lifting. I'm 47 now. I started, probably about 25 years ago is when I started lifting. I walked in the gym at 190 pounds. I was like into running and stuff. And to be honest, I didn't like lifting weights. And my buddies, we'd run a little bit, we lift a little bit. Man, I hated lifting because you went in there as a young pup, thought you were something, and you put a 45 on each side, it buried you. You're like, well, shit, I'm a puss, and things started changing. I had a good friend down there in own gym, and he started beating my ass. And before you know it, went from 190 to like 220, 225 in like 3 months.
Wow.
And then the nickname stuck, and good Lord just gave me some really good genetics. I've always just been a bigger guy and strong. The nickname stuck with me for all these years.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Do you remember what age you were when you changed body composition from that skinny kind of 190 to 220?
I was always kind of like a bigger build kid, even in high school.
Okay.
But I was but you're soft. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But probably once I got later 20s, once I started figuring out a little bit more about the diet and lifting, things changed. But to be honest, I tell a lot of guys, I really got my best shape. I'm 47, but I really didn't get into my best shape to my late 30s. Actually like 39 to 41. That was probably the best shape I was ever in because you figure it all out. You understand the diet is so important, just not the training, but the diet was so important. I started figuring it out, and that's when I probably got in the best shape of my life.
It's interesting you say that. My wife and I always joke. So I moved away from Michigan when I was like 23. We moved to Florida as a dating couple. But when I hit 25, I gained 20 pounds and I've never been able to kick it. I sort of turned into a man. Like my body went from a boy to a man at 25. And I've been that. And so it sounds similarly like I was 185 when I graduated.
Yeah. What the crazy lot guys don't understand, actually, I was big and lifting, got my nickname and everything. Then I changed jobs when I was like 28. My first marriage, had my first couple kids and stuff. I was on midnight shift for like 5 years. And if everybody's worked midnight shift, that's a brutal shift. And I was 300 pounds fat ass, man.
Really?
I went complete opposite way for about a handful of years. And then some life changes with things in life. God throws some stuff out there, and some things changed with my first marriage and that. And I kind of woke up, man, and I fell back in love with the iron, you know what I mean? And changed my life around with it.
Yeah. And you also mentioned sort of getting in your best shape at your late 30s. And I would echo that. I think what ends up happening is your overall health becomes more of a priority.
Yeah. Definitely. You start like me. I'm 47. I'm like 50. What the hell? I don't feel that old. I'll be honest with you. I mean, the joints in the morning do. I mean, that's the only problem lifting for 25 years. The joints are pretty well shot.
Yeah.
I do have to change my lifting up. You know what I mean? But I'll be honest with you. I don't feel my age. I don't. And I think that's related to is the diet. I mean, I cheat like everybody, don't get me wrong, but the diet and just consistently working out, taking care of yourself. I definitely don't feel my age.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And obviously, I don't want to speak for you and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but staying physically active, is not just good for you. It's not good for you, just good for you physically. It's good for you mentally, leaps and bounds.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm not afraid to talk about it. I've been divorced, you know what I mean? And, my second wife here, she's my world, and my life really changed. But when I was going through my first marriage, the iron's what kept me sane, the mental part of it. I turned to it. I mean, I loved hunting and everything else, but I'm telling you, man, when you put them headphones on, you went to the gym, that's what kept me going, you know what I mean, through some rough times in my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And, again, I sort of mentioned this in the beginning, but I think you and I have a lot of very similar philosophies as far as what it means to be a man in 2024.
Yes.
How to speak your mind, maybe push back a little bit against what the status quo is today. And I really want to kind of talk to you at length about some of those things today. We will obviously talk deer. I mean, I love the outdoors and deer hunting as well. I have not done it as long as you have. But I am incredibly passionate about it. But I find that it's super hard today to, and again, I'm going to make some assumptions here. You represent a brand. You represent a family owned brand in Lone Wolf Custom Gear.
Yeah.
Do you find it challenging to be who you are and speak your values as you represent a brand like that, or are they sort of do you have to pick and choose what you say or be careful?
No. That's what's I think really great about the stuff. I mean, we all understand the sponsorship stuff like that. There's certain things, yes, you're obligated to. You get that. You know what I mean? But in general, speaking your mind, what I like is I consider myself an alpha male, and I
Mm-hmm.
take a lot of pride in that. And what I love about that company in general, it is made up of a lot of alphas.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We all have a very similar outlook to all this, what's going on in the world
Okay.
nowadays. So it's very relatable, everything.
Yeah.
You don't really have to worry about walking on eggshells. You know what I mean? Everybody, we're basically, it's a brotherhood or even sisterhood. We have some women a part of the team too now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one big family, and a lot of our beliefs are all on the same level.
Yeah. And do you think that speaking your mind and standing true to your convictions is really what it means to be a real man in
Yeah.
2024? And again,
Yeah.
I don't want to sound sexist because I feel
No.
like the same thing could be said about being a real woman as well. But
Yes.
you and I are men.
Yeah.
We're going to talk that way. To be
Yeah.
a man in 2024, does it mean uh, standing firm in your convictions and not being afraid to stand up?
Yeah. I'm not afraid to. I'm pro God, pro life, pro gun, pro Trump, pro, conservative. You get down the list here. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to be living under an effing rock to not see what's going on in this world. And it agitates me how the children are treated nowadays, how the women are treated nowadays, because men are not being men.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the problem. A lot of men are hate to say it, are cowards. You know what I mean? In this world, to speak their mind, speak the truth. We were just talking off air a little bit about, we got this election coming up in November. If it doesn't go our way, a lot of us are going to have to do some things that are probably going to be really uncomfortable down the road.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. You know what I mean?
I agree with that.
So the future for our children, it's going to get ugly, boys and girls. I mean, you have to be living under a freaking rock not to see what's going on in this world. In the world in general, just not our country, it's the world.
Right. It is literally across the globe. And honestly,
yes.
I think there are some places across the globe that are probably in a worse spot than we are currently in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to say it is probably exclusively because we are a heavily armed society.
Yeah. That's the only thing that's keeping us right now is the 2A.
Right.
I mean, that is what it is. And I honestly think I am God first. President Trump, we're hoping he gets in November, and two assassinate attempts, and they didn't get him. I think God's hand is in play, and that gives me a little bit of peace that maybe we'll pull this off in November. And
yeah,
maybe it's not the end of days yet.
Right. There is
that's
definitely some hope
for my children. At you know what I mean. There is some hope here. I think people are finally waking up to. Unfortunately, there's a lot of corruption out there with everything, the voting and everything. So let's hope and pray. Like I said, it goes our way.
Yeah. And you said you are a father, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, how old are your children, if you don't mind me asking?
My daughter is 17.
Okay.
My oldest boy is 15. Then my youngest boy, he will turn 6 in November.
Okay, so you have a pretty good spread.
Yep.
Some children who are relatively close. If not, you might as well call a 17-year-old an adult. Adult. They're able to understand adult topics and conversations.
Yes.
6-year-old is a little bit more delicate when you talk about certain things. How do you approach the world today and things that they may hear from friends or see on television or the news? How do you address, if at all, especially with your youngest, how do you address that stuff?
Yeah, it's a little bit different with them. Like I'm divorced. So 2 of my oldest are with my ex-wife, and then my little one's here with me. So that's a little bit different influence. But I have a 17-year-old daughter. I think if any of us have teenage daughters, we know how that's a difficult. I love her to death, but she's, in 17-year-old girl. Now, what's crazy is my boys. I do not hold back with my boys. I don't care, soon to be 6-year-old or my 15-year-old. I tell them the way it is. I expect them to grow up to be men, to be respectful men, be respectful to women. That's how they're taught. And I'm not afraid to, show them the negative part in the world also, so they're not blind to it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I had a conversation. I don't even remember who it was with, but it was a very similar thing. It's like, we can't sugarcoat it. I mean, there are certain things.
And I think it's the problem with society. That's why I said men are we're sitting back too much, because in the day it is up to the men. That's our job as men. We are the protectors. We are the providers. And right now we're not doing a very good job. A large majority of men.
When do you think that started?
Social media, my guess. That I think some of that, the influence there that started to brainwash a lot of people. Media, in general. I think the news stuff. I mean, you see it now. I think people just got brainwashed, and then they did it. I'm trying to think the word here. Didn't do it all at one time. Is that little cut at a time, a little bit, just a little bit at a time over decades, where this is, caused the problems it is nowadays with society. I think there's still a lot of us out there. You know what I mean? I still feel pretty positive. I think we still have a large number of us out there. But we need to start turning it around. You got to speak your mind.
Yeah. I had a conversation in Nebraska a couple of weeks ago with some guys. We were there for the opener, and I don't know who I heard this from, so it's not like this is some unique thought that I came up with on my own, but I think the seeds were planted decades ago. With our parents, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
You're just a couple years older than I am. I believe that there was a concentrated effort to not necessarily break up the family, but to put both parents to work.
So the government, state agencies could raise the children.
Yes. Your kids had more influence by people who are not blood relatives.
Yeah. And you see it. You see it now. Yeah. You can see that. Yep.
And so that was maybe when it started. Maybe it started before that, but I don't have a frame of reference beyond that. Yep. I would be willing to bet, though, that the cracks started then, those little cuts.
Yeah.
And then those kids are our age. Those children are our age now. And there's a group of them who are, who never had very good role models. And maybe it's not always that fault. But they grew up, and then they have kids that they're afraid, they want to be friends with more than they want to be authority figures to.
Yeah.
And they're afraid to speak that truth. And so I think it started a long time ago. I know you said you think it really started with social media. I think social media exacerbated the problem.
I think you're right. It started a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yes, with social media and stuff, the news and influence area, man, it was wildfire.
It spread so fast. And I was gonna do a solo podcast last week because I just felt like getting some stuff off my chest. Like, I started thinking about, what the term memory hold means? Where there's so much shit that's happening in a 24-hour news cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Almost forget.
Yeah.
The Malaysian Airlines flight MH370 literally crashed and disappeared in the ocean. Started going down all of these things.
Yeah.
They quickly cover with another news story so fast.
Look at Trump's assassination attempts.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They're still trying to figure the first one out.
You can't
come
keep
on
up.
now.
And you almost don't even have enough time to digest what has happened, get mad about it.
Yeah.
Talk to people about it in your local taverns or with your friend groups. And collectively rise up and do anything about it, because there's so much shit that's happening. You can't keep up.
Can't keep up. Yeah, exactly. That's why I do personally anymore. I mean, hey, I scroll across Instagram, I try to keep it, hunting related or lifting or something like that. But I don't watch the news or anything. I mean, of course, you pick it up on social media and like Trump's assassination, certain things you can't avoid to watch.
Right.
But me personally, I've really tried to cut a lot of that out. Even things I follow anymore on social media. I try to cut the negative stuff out. I tell you what, you feel a lot better throughout the day. Because at the end of the day, as much as we need to change as men, end of the day, this is in God's hands. End of the day, I mean, it could be end of days, or it is what it is. You know what I mean? Just better have your ducks in line when it comes to that point.
Yeah. How do you disseminate truth from fiction when you, because like similarly, we don't have cable, we don't watch the news.
Yeah.
I get my information from social media or trusted, resources like certain podcasts that I'll listen to
Yeah.
I have listened to long enough where I can tell if it's nonsense or not. How do
Yeah.
you go about disseminating the difference?
Same thing. There's a few people I follow, you know what I mean, on the social media side, and that I think, relate to a lot of us, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? But like I said, I think majority of the stuff, I mean, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, to be honest, you're conservative, liberal, whatever side you're on, they're going to blow smoke up your ass. So
Yeah.
you kind of got to look at that fine line down the middle of it, to be honest with you,
Mhm.
that's kind of how I look at it. I try to block most of what I can and just take the important stuff in. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, I know where my vote's going in November.
Mhm.
I know how I'm going to handle it if it goes the wrong way. That's how I look at it.
Right. As an alpha male, um,
Mhm.
and someone who wants, from what I can tell, the best for America and best for his
Yes.
family, and the best for his fellow citizens.
Mhm.
What do you think our job is as people who have a voice? Um, what is our responsibility for reaching out to people who seem like maybe they are misguided, not necessarily even misguided, maybe lost? Do we have a responsibility to reach out to those people?
I believe we do, and I'm just as fault as everybody else. You know what I mean? You kind of just live in your own bubble sometimes with this
Yep.
stuff. But yeah, I think it is responsible. We should be, as men, even be responsible and to talk to other people about this. Maybe the people are on that thin line either
Mhm.
side, and I think you don't go mother effing about it. You know what I mean? You have a civilized conversation about it and point out the obvious to these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that. It's some of the topics of conversation are so infuriating,
Yeah.
uh, that it does sometimes seem like it might be difficult to have a civilized conversation with them.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the border, illegal immigrants. I'm
Yeah,
like, how in the world can you even like that? Just especially when you see young women getting raped and murdered and children. I mean, the rage cannot be explained.
right.
As a man, to see that. I mean, that's where I think I get frustrated in this country is seeing that stuff there and nothing getting done about it. That just it's hard to see because, like I said, in the day, we're supposed to be protecting them. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, and I feel the same way about on a more local level. Um, we homeschool our kids. We've always homeschooled our kids,
Mhm.
and so I don't have this vested interest within our local school system.
Yeah,
However, it's still my community. And these are
yeah,
still people that live, they're my neighbors, and their kids will be friends with my kids. And so a part of me feels like I have a responsibility to speak up, when I see something wrong in the local school system. I don't
yeah.
see that today. We still live in a pretty conservative area. Um,
That same here. I live in a fairly conservative area, so maybe that, I guess, in a way, may hurt us. You know what I mean?
mhm,
A lot of people are on board. It's the
mhm.
outside of that circle that seems to be a problem.
Right. And I have a friend, and I'm not afraid to have this conversation with them. But recently, his wife posted something about, you know, it was an image of some books at a library that said, "Come read these banned books." And her offense was that this is bullshit. No book should be banned. And I thought to myself, I agree that there's a time and a place for everything. Okay.
Yes.
But what I will also say is I triple dog dare you to read a Hustler article to your 5-year-old. You won't do it. And you won't do it.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
You won't do it because the
This is
content,
where,
yeah,
yeah,
is
the
an
common
adult
sense.
content.
Like there
Yes.
has to be common sense in this stuff, and
Right.
and that, I mean, unfortunately, it's just Satan at work. It's
Right.
the evil. That's unfortunately that's what's going on in this world right now.
And that's the stuff that infuriates me the most is more the
Yeah.
local level where it's like,
Yeah.
I can't imagine my kids, although I don't shelter my kids from much, I don't need them going to the local Clarkston Independence Library and looking up
Yeah.
about Tommy the tranny and his
Yeah.
boyfriend. It
Exactly,
doesn't need
man.
to happen.
It does not, man. Like I said, I scratch my head about it. Like, I just don't understand. Like, what fucking parent thinks that's okay? You know?
And that's the problem, is that some of them are so entrenched in this virtuous, like this social justice warrior, this virtue
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
nothing should be outlawed. Like,
Oh,
let's be real.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you won't read that to your kids because
Yeah.
it's content that a child doesn't need to have access to.
Yeah. Exactly.
An
Exactly.
adult can read that in the privacy of the adult's home.
Yes.
It
Yep.
doesn't need to be in a library that my tax dollars pay for. Period.
Yeah. That's why I said, man, I can give two shits what people do behind closed doors.
100%.
You want to go whack your winky off and whatever and be a woman. I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? But
No.
my kids don't need to know about it. I don't care to know about it. That's all
Right.
I care. What you do, I don't care. Don't care. But when you force feed it down our children's, you know, throats, there I got a problem as a man. I got a problem with it.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
I love that. And you know, we really could probably shout and scream about that for a really long time. So I want to kind of wrangle it back into fitness.
Yeah, we're going now. This is I've been on Lloyd's podcast. This is the first time ever. This is pretty damn good. We're getting into all kind of shit, man.
That was my goal. I've been wanting to talk to somebody about this, and I felt like you and I really see eye to eye on a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
And
man.
I knew I could speak to you freely about that.
Yeah,
and I appreciate
100%.
your willingness to talk about that. But let's circle back to fitness. I within the like you, I felt like I really got into my best physical shape at like 39, 40, 41. In the last couple of years, I have completed 75 hard. And that changed me in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And I have found that by placing hunting goals on myself and parlaying that into my physical fitness has set me on a trajectory to be very successful, no matter where I go or what I do. I do not hunt terrain like you hunt.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you could do what you do if you were not as physically fit as you are?
I'd say no. I get in too much. I tell guys I scout dirty, I hunt dirty. You know, meaning I'm in some nasty shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think if I wasn't in the shape I was in, I could do it, but not for very long. You know what I mean? When I take a month vacation, I go day and day and day, getting up early, 12-hour day in the stand, getting down and repeating that process every day. If I wasn't in some sort of shape, I think I would mentally, not just physically, mentally wise, I'd be done.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Do you have and I don't know what you do for a living, but does your profession keep you physically active?
I'm a union. I have a union gig. I work at a factory.
Okay.
So I work on the dock, shipping and receiving. So I keep fairly busy. I mean, my ass is playing on a forklift a good bit, but I do a lot of running around, moving around. It's fairly active. It's easy. It's union. You know what I mean? But but it keeps me moving. It keeps me active. Yep.
You don't seem like a guy who could sit at his desk all day long like I do. I don't.
No, I'd be a caged animal.
I used to be a site superintendent on individual construction projects, and then I got this administrative job, and it's like, oh my god, I'm going insane.
Yeah, I'd go nuts. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Does your profession afford you a tremendous amount of PTO, or do you kind of have to really work at schedule?
Yeah. Being a union gig, the perks, salary and time off and all that stuff goes to a union gig. I'm actually going on 20 years.
That's awesome.
Next year I'll have, this year I have, I think, 4 weeks vacation. And I think I get like 6 personal days. Next year I get an extra week. So I'll have 5 weeks vacation plus a little over a week personal day. So that's why I take a month off for bow hunting for the rut. And I still have time for the wife and stuff like that. So, I'm blessed when it comes to that. And that affords me. And that's why I said a lot of guys, I love the rut. I love the grind. But I do have an advantage over a lot of people to where I'm coming home at night. I get to sleep back up, not going to work the next day, when I take off for the rut. That is a big advantage I have.
Do you have you historically traveled a lot during that time, or do you stay relatively close?
It has fluctuated over the years. I've been in the Midwest, of course. I've been, Illinois, Wisconsin, Ohio, Iowa. I traveled. But to be honest with you, maybe the age getting older. The mountains are my love. The big woods and mountains. I've actually told people I'd rather hunt here. I'd rather kill a lesser buck, antler size here than the Midwest. I'd rather stay here. It's something about, first off, as a family man, coming home to my family every night, sleeping in my own bed. And just, I like, this is where I put all my time in. And like I said, yes, the quality of hunting isn't as good, but I actually feed off that challenge.
Yeah.
I like it being tough, man. That's how I've hunted for 30 some years. I've never been blessed with the best property. I've traveled Midwest hunting some good properties and stuff, but I never here at home, my home base, I've never been blessed with good stuff. I've always had to bust my nuts to find it and get into stuff. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't change any of that, because the reason I'm sitting here today is because of that. The deer I've killed is because of that hard work and just those tough conditions. It's normal for me, if that makes sense. I tell guys, a lot of this, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense. And that's been my hunting career, or whatever you want to call it, for 30 some years.
Was there something in your personal life that you did that coincided with hunting that flipped that switch for you to have that sort of mentality? It's a very specific mentality.
Yeah, I don't really couldn't say. I honestly don't know. It just, like I said, my upbringing with hunting was just like everybody else. This can sound crazy, but my dad, he is my best friend. But my childhood was pretty violent. My dad was an alcoholic, and that alcoholism is a disease, or whatever it is. I did not inherit that. I did not get that, but I have an addiction to whitetails, if that makes sense. I've actually have to keep it healthy. Like I said, I am divorced, and whitetails were a big part of that, my first marriage, because of that. So I've learned to balance that. And I think that passion I have, or an addiction I've had, I've learned to, I guess it's an addictive, but I've learned to keep it a passion. But that's what drives me, to be honest with you, is that, and like I said, I think it's just that hereditary thing from my dad. I didn't have the alcoholism or drug addiction or anything like that. It's been the whitetails. And that's, to be honest with you, that's what it is, I think.
Is there a level of not personal fulfillment, but a level of achievement that you're always striving for in the woods? That's maybe part of that as well.
Yeah. I think I'm my toughest competitor is myself, if that makes sense. I just, like, I was pretty successful here in Maryland here a few weeks ago. That was the ultimate high. But that I come off that mountain pretty quick, and it's like I'm itching right now to start the PA season here. Like I just can't wait to go. And it seems like every year I'm successful, but then it's like I can't wait to get back out there and scout. Like it is that constant process, 365. I just cannot wait to get back out there and start. Like I said, it's like I said, it's an addiction, it's a passion, but I've learned to manage it, make it healthy over the years. Yeah.
That is a very common theme amongst a lot of people who get on these microphones and talk, is how to balance that.
Yeah. I've talked to a lot of guys. It's funny because I've had a lot of conversations. We've been pretty open about this on this podcast, which I think is pretty cool. Guys kind of get to see behind the scenes of us.
Yeah.
But I've had a lot of conversations. I've done a lot of these podcasts, and I've talked to guys like yourself after the podcast, not like here when recorded. And it's all the same things as we've all struggled with things in life, this addiction, this passion. Ours, we're all on a common base of whitetails and hunting. It could be anything in life. You know what I mean? That even if it's something good, it can be bad too, if you know what I mean. It become an addiction. It can start interfering with your family life, your relationship with the Lord, stuff like that, your work. And like, we're older, so we've kind of been through it. I see some of these younger guys, I see it. If you're not married, stuff like that, that's one thing, but you've got to learn, once that family comes along, that marriage, you're a man of the house. You have to, your responsibilities come first over an animal, over this passion. You have to know that.
Yeah, and it's a real fine line. It's
Yes.
a balancing
Yeah.
act.
And you
Um,
better, I will say, gentlemen, when you do settle down, you better make sure she's a winner. Because
yeah,
I tell you what, I got blessed. I've been with my wife for 8 years now. She is my number one. She is my queen. She is my number one supporter. I mean, I would not be able to be here right now and do what I do without her.
right. And interestingly, when I met my wife and we moved away, I didn't hunt. I
Mm,
had hunted, but I was brand new to hunting right after I met her to date.
yeah.
And when we moved to Florida, I did not deer hunt in Florida at all. And so she will occasionally say, "You didn't do this when we first met,"
Yeah.
which is very fair. And so once I got bit with the bug, and me and the buddies were crazy those first couple of years. She was like, "This isn't not. We can't. I can't. It can't be every weekend. It can't be
Yeah.
weekends. Like it. We're gonna have to
Yeah.
figure something out." And of course, now with kids, it's
Yeah.
impossible anyway.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're right. There's having those open and honest conversations with your spouse or your partner, and then just being just have those honest conversations
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
away. Just get it out in the
Mhm.
open, and you'll be
Yeah,
better
mine
off.
knew we started dating. She knew. I said
Yeah,
I have a problem, you know. And like I said, I guys are like, how in the world are you in the woods every Saturday or Sunday? And I said, I have a structure. We have a method with my youngest. He goes to grandparents. My wife is like my passion. I love to lift too, but my passion, whitetail, is hers for training. She loves to work out too.
oh, that's awesome.
Physical fitness is huge for her. So she gets to go to the gym. The kid goes to grandparents. I get to go in the woods.
Everybody's
Everybody's
happy.
happy.
Grandma and grandpa are happy. Yep.
Yep.
That's huge, man. Yeah. And it's that was a big thing about Florida is we had her mother down there, but it was a very
Yeah.
limited support system. And she would wear out really easily with two
Yeah.
of the kids. And so,
Yeah. Oh
the
yeah.
rest of our entire family was here in Michigan. And so it was like, we got to go home. And
Yeah.
for that support system is huge. Let's talk a little bit about PA. So I don't, I played some youth hockey in PA growing up. I mean, I have some buddies that are from PA. This no hunting on Sunday thing, dude, tell me about this.
Yeah.
Why and how long is it going to last?
Hopefully not much longer because over the last few years they've given us a couple Sundays. We
Really?
get
Like,
one in
here
art.
we
Yeah,
go. Here we go.
we get yeah. What is it? One in archery, one for bear season, and one in rifle season. We've been doing that. I don't know how many years now, 3, 4, 5 years. I couldn't tell you how many, but it does seem like it is going the right direction. I'm
Okay.
hoping next year. I'm hoping maybe next year. The way it sounds, maybe next year or the following year. I don't know what I think what the idea is that they're going to give the control to the game commission, our game commission. They'll finally have control to decide what to do. It sounds like my guess is Sundays will be open for majority of the seasons. I've grown up all my life not hunting Sundays, other than when I went outside Midwest. So at first, it really didn't affect me. I really didn't care because I'd been able to take a lot of time off. But as I get older and you start sitting back, realizing how we were talking about how society is, kids got sports on Saturdays. You got to work 6 days to afford everything nowadays. The husband and a wife, and well, when the hell do you hunt like in a state like here? Well, when's the guy get to go out and
Yeah.
enjoy that or take a kid out? And it's Sunday, and you're not being able to hunt Sunday is just like you can go to a damn strip club, you can go gamble, go get a bit like you can do all this shit, but you can't go out and enjoy the great outdoors. That makes zero freaking sense.
Yeah. And so you just mentioned that maybe perhaps control would be given to the game commission. Who has control now?
I'm don't quote me on this. I think it's more of a state thing, like the
Oh, okay.
legislation or whatever. I think I'm not 100% sure how it is. I've actually been asked with the Sunday hunting groups and stuff to help, push this stuff like that, promote some stuff. I'm not real sure with, like I said, the politics of it. I don't try to get into that. From what I'm thinking is it's kind of a state thing, and then eventually the game commission will have some control. They can kind of dictate when to implement these Sundays.
Got it. So what is your game commission called? Is it like the
Pennsylvania Game Commission? Yeah,
Okay.
like everybody, like you guys have DNR.
Right.
Ours is called Pennsylvania Game Commission. We have a fish commission also, and we have
Okay.
a Pennsylvania Game Commission. So you have a fishing side, then you have a hunting side.
So Michigan has this problem where not only do we have the Michigan DNR, but we have the NRC, which is the Natural
Yeah.
Resource Commission, which was implemented by the government sort of way it seems now, sort of under the guise of maybe it was going to be something different, and it ended up being sort of negative. And so now you have this group that makes these decisions that are not necessarily in the best interest of the state, the residents, or necessarily the DNR, which is crazy to think about. And so I was trying to put the pieces together in my head, and I was like, oh boy, this doesn't sound good. But maybe I just was not following along. So that's good.
Yeah, that's a big problem now is like we see all the stuff in Colorado now, stuff's going to go to the ballot box for biology. Now, come on. And that's what I think you're seeing a big problem is the politics side of this. The politicians are getting involved with the biology. Like the biologists are there for a reason. You have to trust the biologist, to make these decisions so that our commissions or DNRs can implement, the laws and regulations, not guys sitting around a table at whatever courthouse or whatever legislation, that's a problem right now. And it's, it comes down to money, of course, you know what I mean? The lobbyists and stuff like that, insurance companies, all that shit. Unfortunately, does it get fixed? I don't know. You know what I mean? I think we could we go right back down that road of politics in general. You know what I mean? It's all under the same damn umbrella. It all is, just on a different level. It's unfortunate because not only are we, losing that battle, but the wildlife in general are going to lose that battle, because it wasn't for us, it wasn't for hunters, our tax dollars, our hunting license and all that. Shit wouldn't be the way it is nowadays, the wildlife, how it's managed and what we see out there nowadays. It wasn't for us.
And, I already took my tinfoil hat off, but I'll put it back on to say this, as a conspiracy theorist at heart, maybe that's what they want. Maybe they want it to be a turnoff. Maybe they want you not to be able to source your own beautiful protein to feed your family. Maybe they want it to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like, doesn't it?
A lot of emotions involved from people who,
like I said, it's what is it, the death by 1,000 cuts or whatever. And that's, the whole thing. We'll get right back down that rabbit hole. It's the same thing. You're seeing it in Colorado right now. You see it in California. Was it Washington? You see it in those liberal states. Just a little bit of time, this stupid little shit, and it's just going to keep spreading like wildfire until we do something about it.
Do you guys deal with a lot of CWD or EHD in your area?
The EHD, we have had it here in spots. I don't know about this year because of the weather. I haven't heard nothing. I think it was back in, it wasn't really publicized too much. Back in about 2012, if I recall. I used to hunt a lot of like flood bottoms and stuff, and kind of in the southwestern portion of the state, and it hit. We find them dead and everything else. It took a pretty good hit in the area. Took a while to bounce back some spots. Now this year here, I haven't heard anything local. Now the CWD is a thing. I think we're going to put that damn tinfoil hat back on or whatever, because I think is CWD a real thing? Yeah. Somebody asked me one time, somebody messaged me and goes, because I put my opinion out there about CWD. I think it's just a political disease. And I've hunted states it's been in. I think it's bullshit. And they're like, well, would you eat the meat if it's CWD? Oh, it has some fucking common sense. If you're going to put a damn deer out there, it has CWD. Well, I don't know if I'm going to risk it. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, I get it. Okay. If it tests positive, I get it. But you've got to have some freaking common sense. You're telling me you get an area and they're bringing these government sharpshooters in to kill all these deer, annihilate the herd. Like, come on, man. I understand managing a herd, but that shit there, like I hunted Buffalo County, Wisconsin when it first started up there many, many years ago. And it was a shame. Even the locals were disgusted. They just annihilated the herd. Come on. And guess what? They still have CWD.
Yeah.
Freaking 20 years later, 15 years. It doesn't do a damn thing. Yeah. I can understand trying to slow the spread down a little bit with some management, but to go in there and annihilate it and let government agencies come in there and do it, use the hunters. You know what? Especially if, like I said, okay, you got this side, you got that side. Like I said, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. It's been around for millenniums. You know what I mean? But if you want to manage it for a reason, or for whatever reason you want to be, whatever side of the road you want to be on, you can manage it, but utilize the hunters and do some common sense with it. You know what I mean?
100%. I've thought the same thing for a long time. I'm like, maybe CWD is always there. Maybe they're just,
it's always been, and the best thing is what they call it, the prions or whatever. If you do, you educate yourself on it. It's like a stupid amount of time the damn shit stays in the ground. Like you can kill every freaking deer ever. They come back, they're going to get it. Like it's in soil, and like I said, I understand the management part of it. but we got to have some damn common sense with it, you know.
And that's what our fearless leaders are lacking, the common sense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only reason that I had that written down is because I keep seeing that it's flaring up. EHD is flaring up in Western Michigan and
Yeah.
Indiana
I mean,
and parts
the
of
HD
Illinois.
is, yeah, I mean, the HD is definitely a real thing and is a
Mhm.
problem. Unfortunately, a lot of the southern deer get it and survive from it. Unfortunately, with the warmer climates and stuff, that's from what my education on is, our deer just aren't, we're used to that early frost stuff. They got to kill that
Mhm.
mid. We're not getting that now, and our deer don't have the humidity. You know what I mean? Fuck, I
Yeah,
can't
I
talk
do.
straight now. Yeah,
Yeah, I do.
I don't drink, guys. That's not drinking. Anyway, they haven't built their immune system up for it yet, and that's it just devastates the herd. I've seen it in Iowa and states I've hunted, and man, it puts our Ohio. I see it in southern Ohio.
Mm,
Man, it put a hurting on the herd. Whew,
that's a
it's
damn
rough.
shame. Yeah, I
Yep,
haven't
it is.
experienced anything like that. I think that hit in our area before I moved back to Michigan. So my buddies had said,
Mhm.
and we would roll into town, and he's like, you could smell it in the air, which
Yeah,
is
I know when it hit.
shocking.
Like I said, it was like 2012, if I recall, around that time frame. And the place, you're looking at 12 years later, it still hasn't rebounded from it. And it never, those deer populations have never come back up from what they used to be. Never.
What a shame, man. What a
Yep.
shame.
Yep.
Well, what do you have? What do you add on the docket this year?
Well, we killed that one in Maryland.
Yeah,
So Maryland, check.
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Check on Maryland. Pretty much it's going to be PA here. My oldest boy, he starts bow hunting this year. He's been out rifle. He's killed a few doe. So my priority, the first part of the season, is to get him his first archery. Buck or doe. I'm hopefully a buck. I'm not worried about myself. I'm going to kill some doe. I do hunt a little bit of private property early season. I won't be in the mountains till end of October, but so that first probably like 3 weeks of PA season, I'm going to focus on him. Be out with my buddy, my dad. I'm going to kill some does on his farm. And then October 25th is when my rutcation kicks in for a month. And then I'm heading to the mountains for a month, and I'm going to hunt my ass off, hopefully kill something pretty good. And then, Lord willing, if I would tag out early and have some time, I may jump across the border to Ohio, maybe go over there, archery, or maybe do a little gun hunting there. That's kind of the plan for the year.
Tell me about Maryland. Maryland is on my radar. I talked to Justin Simon about it a
Yeah.
couple times. I feel like it's maybe one of those places that flies under the radar.
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty
I don't live far from the Maryland border,
okay.
and I've been talking about, to be honest, here the last couple of years. I'm like, well, I need to freaking just go do it,
Yeah.
And it was getting the summer there, and I was like, you know what? I was pretty well caught up in Pennsylvania and some of my camera work and stuff. And I was like, man, I got to get down there. If I go down and scout, that'll motivate me to get down there in the season and hunt. And I went down twice in the summer. The second place I went to is actually where I ended up hunting and killing. Like where area I'm hunting, it's pretty well similar to where I'm hunting, big woods, mountainous type stuff. I'm fairly familiar with that kind of stuff. I know when you get out more east, it's a little different. I think you do get a little more agriculture.
Yeah.
I think there's a little bit more private property. I know there's some big ass bucks down that end, no doubt, but it's a little harder to get access, I hear. But the western side where I was at, there's a fair amount of public land. Be honest with you, I wasn't a tree very long. I didn't scout very long in the summer
It
either.
was really funny to watch your videos. You're like,
Yeah, so it was kind of like, well, that worked.
Yeah.
It doesn't usually play out that way, but it did. But it seems like it's solid hunting, just like anywhere if you put some time in.
Yeah. No, that's we've got some extended family in Maryland, and it's just not something that we had ever really talked about. But once my brother and I started doing some out of state stuff, it's like, man, where else could we go that's different? That's a real, that's a challenge, and it's I would have to look up where they're at in Maryland, but I'm fairly certain it's in the mountains.
Yeah, anytime you get in the Big Woods Mountains, it's going to be a challenge because of topography, and typically, not always, typically it's going to be a lower deer density. And not always too. Your quality of deer are going to be down a little bit. It just depends where you're at. I mean, I get on big bucks all the time. You just got to work for it. Just seems like when you get into that kind of topography and atmosphere, it's going to demand a little bit more work typically.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, 100%. 100%. But that's, again, when you are as passionate about whitetails as we are, at work is what is so.
That's what drive. I mean, to me, I'm looking forward to bow season. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to gun season. I love the hunt. I love chasing whitetails. And, like I tell guys before, the top of the mountains, being able to harvest a good whitetail, or doe or whatever, to harvest something. But me anymore, man, I honestly can't wait till the postseason. I can't wait till it's over. I hate to say that because I can't wait to get boots on the ground, start walking the mountains, have my lab with me. My oldest boy's probably gonna start tagging along, learning the woodsmanship, because that's where you build the woodsmanship.
Yeah.
To me, is in the postseason. That's where the woodsmanship. That's where it comes from, right there. I mean, anytime you step foot in, any minute, any second, anytime you put one footstep in the woods, me personally, you're becoming a better woodsman. Any amount of time, anytime you get out there, you're always become a better woodsman. But man, that postseason, man, that is my high. That is the thing I chase. Outside of killing a mature buck, man, I just love finding, like, when I find like a good spot, my spidey senses are going off. That's almost as good as killing a mature buck for me, because that is just like, yeah, you know what I mean. You get in there, the spidey sense, sixth sense tingling, and I get to start breaking that down. That there is part of that chess match that I absolutely love.
Let's talk about those spidey senses, because Cody's done a couple podcasts talking about feelings,
Yeah, yeah.
the way things feel, and being more in tune with the woods when you're out there.
Yes,
I've
yes.
had this conversation too. I think human beings are currently inherently attached to our devices in some form or fashion. Guilty as charged, absolutely. Onyx, cell cam, stuff, whatever. There is something to be said about putting your damn phone in your pocket and sometimes just standing there.
Yeah.
Totally still and just feeling things. You start to see things differently. You start to spidey senses start to go off. Have you always been someone sort of in tune with your spidey sense, or did you have to learn to find that?
Both, if that makes sense. Like, I think something's always been there.
Yeah.
But you have to hone that.
Yeah.
You have to, that sense, just like you learn to talk and all that. Like, you as you learn, as you grow older, this makes sense. It's the same thing as developing that sixth sense, or whatever you want to call it, because a lot of guys like, well, when did it click for you, Moose? I said, I can't really nail it down when it clicked, but I will say this. I mean, I put a lot of miles in every year, a lot of hours. But really, I would say I'm 47, but really the last few years, I've really concentrated. I've been living in this house now going 8 years. So we moved up here. I kind of moved to the mountains. That's when I really started diving deep into Big Woods Mountains. And that's what really, last couple of years, being in this terrain, this topography, and trying to read the sign, it's when it's clicked for me. I've really clicked for me. Like I said, I've always been fairly good woodsman over the years, but the last couple of years, when I walk in the timber, I just see it different, if that makes sense. I mean, I just do. I pick up on the slightest little details now. You know what I mean? I've been in the woods. I mean, I don't do this pound my chest, be arrogant. I'm not trying to be a cocky asshole. But I spend a lot of times with other guys in the woods, and it's crazy what I'm seeing, what other people aren't seeing. Yeah. And I think everybody can get to that point eventually, but it's a lot of hours, a lot of boot time, you know what I mean, to get there. I do believe not everybody has it. You know what I mean? I think you can develop to a point, but there's just different levels for different people, I think.
Yeah. I mean, and do you think there's anything to that? How maybe our cell phones are interfering with our ability to feel that, whether it be the cell service, the signal, the Wi-Fi, all the shit, your brain waves in your phone. And like, I feel like when you don't have that, you can feel things differently.
Yeah, I mean, like when I'm out in the woods, my phone's always with me. Excuse me, use Onyx. It's basically for, I find a scrape or find something interesting, stand site. Yes, I'm putting a point of interest down, or I wander through the woods and like, where the hell am I at? Because I just wonder, you know what I mean? It's like, am I going where I think I was going, or you know what I mean? I have a pretty good sense of direction, but you get some thick, nasty shit. But excuse me, I find myself a lot of times just exploring, if that makes sense. I tell a lot of guys I have like a point of interest, and sometimes I get there, sometimes I don't, and even when I do get there, I tend to wonder. And that's why I think that sets me apart from a lot of people in the woods when it comes to scouting is how I follow the terrain, if that makes sense. I'm always looking at it on a macro scale. How do the whitetails utilize this terrain? How are they moving through it? What are these different little nuances that they're utilizing in their terrain? That's the stuff I've learned to pick up on the last couple of years. And then I take that and I always tell people that's the macro level. And I've learned to break it down to micro level then when I'm picking a kill tree or a situation, like I said, it just takes years to develop that, I guess. But like I said, it's really, to be honest, it's hard to put in words when I'm out there. And like you're saying about the no cell phone, like I make it a point every time in the postseason, man, I take a lunch break or something. I get my jet boil out or I make a fire, have a cup of coffee, and just I reflect on the day, what I saw, and what I'm going to get into the rest of the day, if that makes sense. But I always try to sit back for a half hour and take it all in.
Yeah, there's something to be said about, it's almost, I know maybe you are, maybe you aren't. You can tell me if you are. You take your shoes off and you ground, like you touch the earth. You physically put your hands on a tree or a fallen log, or feel the dampness of the leaves, and you when you become more one with the woods, things start. You'll hear a voice in your head, and people are gonna be like, this fucking guy with missing his tooth is an idiot. But there's a voice that says, go to the left.
You want to hear an idiot talk? This is my 2 cents on this. We all have different makeups, different DNAs, different backgrounds of our past relatives and everything else. I have Cherokee Indian in me. I think that's a big part of it. People think I'm nuts, but I forget how many great grandfathers I was told was a chief of some tribe somewhere. All I know is I'm Cherokee Indian. And I'm going to tell you, I think a lot of it has to do with that, just in my DNA.
100%. And don't take this the wrong way, because I know you are follically challenged up there. But I feel like those guys and their long hair, I have heard that they could feel their hair, like they kept their hair long to feel the different vibrations in the woods when they were hunting or gathering.
Man, if our ancestors saw what the hell we do now for whitetails, they're like, you guys are a bunch of fucking idiots. Like, listen, he's at point A going to point B. You got to kill him at point A or point B or in between. That's all you got to do. This ain't rocket science,
Yeah, I love it. But I firmly believe there is something to being more one with nature when you're out there and listening to your voice, because if you are in tune with it, that voice inside your head will tell you to take a left or look over there. There's a trail that you haven't seen. I'm telling you, I have found more completely hidden scrapes off the beaten path because something said, don't go back to your truck yet.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've been there. I got it so bad. Like I'm going to take it to another level this postseason. I already told my wife, I said, I really like the bushcraft stuff like that. I'm starting to get more in the old school shit. And, I run cameras now, but I'm starting to get away from some stuff. I said, I'm not coming home a couple nights. What do you mean? I said, I'm sleeping in the woods. She goes, what? I said, it's the only way I'm going to get better if I just live out there with them. So I'm going to do the whole, like a Baker style tarp setup, put the fire, walk my fire, have my dog. I know my dog's either going to like it or he's going to hate me. I said, I'm going to make the camp in the morning. I come back in the evening, I'm done scouting, and we're just going to sleep, spend the night, and scout a little bit more the next day, man. I figured I can only get better if I live out there for a little while.
I have asked my wife how she would feel if there's this property in Illinois that I go to, and I had a feeling that I wasn't going to be able to get in there in the mornings and beat this deer back to bed.
Yeah.
I said, honey, how would you feel if I went out there and I set up a hammock in the woods and slept so that I was already there? And she's like, I'm not okay with that. So, I mean, I'm not far off of what you did, living in the woods.
My wife just says, why? I give her the answer and she just whatever. She doesn't even argue. She goes, whatever. She
You're
don't
gonna
even
do what
argue.
you want anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Go sleep in the woods. That's where I'm comfortable. That's why I tell people. I said, be honest with you, I'm at not just my most at peace. I'm just, man. That's just I just that's where I'm supposed to be, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. You know what I mean? Outside of my family, of course. I'm at home when I'm in the woods, especially the mountains. Man, I'm at home. I'm just like you said, your senses are in tune. When you're out there, when you
Yeah.
block all this shit out.
Yeah. That feeling, I know that feeling. And it is my sincerest hope that every human being can find something that brings them that same joy or
Yeah,
peace, clarity.
yeah.
A lot of people could probably benefit from that in today's
Oh
world.
yeah,
And
yes, yeah, definitely.
I really hope that people can find that. Well, listen, I don't want to take up a ton of your time. I could talk to you for a really long time about a lot of different things and go on to
This
some
is a good one, man.
holes.
This was the first. This
Thanks.
was the first. We mostly it's always tactic talk or
Yeah.
something like that. This is a really really cool conversation tonight for
I'm glad
sure.
you enjoyed it.
Yeah, yeah,
But before you go, I want to go back and talk a little bit about some manly things.
yeah.
If you could speak and reach out to maybe some young men in the world, in our community even, and offer them some guidance, some words of wisdom from the moose right now, what would you tell somebody who's maybe lost and could use a little guidance? What's the most important thing you could tell somebody?
Well, I mean, I will say this in my life, and things have changed for me since my divorce and stuff like that. Has been my connection with Jesus. To me personally, that's that. If you have nowhere to go, you have nothing to turn to. He is always there for you. I think that's my number one thing. There's not a man on this earth, man, woman, anything can help you like he can. To me, that's personally the route I would take. If you're to a point you need help, you just open up the Bible. You don't even need to do that. Just get on your knees and pray, and he'll take care of you. I will guarantee you, because I'm gonna tell you, I've hit rock bottom in my life. I've been on my knees, and he's picked me up.
That's huge, man. That's heavy. That's huge.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really important that people hear that,
Yes.
um, and take that and do with it what you need to do with it, to find peace and to
Yes.
get yourself out of whatever hole you may be in, or
Yeah.
to find some guidance.
Yeah.
Where can people find Moose on social media and follow along with your incredible journey and your manliness? I might add.
Moose 1720 on Instagram. I don't really do the Facebook. I think last time I checked, and anybody tries to friend me on Facebook, I think I had like 900 some people. It's too hard to go through. I kind of give up on that Facebook stuff. And usually that's where the dickheads are, I've learned. So I stay off Facebook. So you'll find me at Moose1720 on Instagram. I'm pretty active on there, of course, with my stories. And I'm pretty open. I'm just some dude like everybody else out there, a normal person. Don't be afraid to reach out to me. It doesn't have to be hunter related. It could be you having a rough day, you need somebody to talk to. I'm always there.
And one more shout out for your favorite pizza joint. And here's the thing. I always thought it was Latrobe, but you said it differently.
Well, don't forget you're talking to a meathead here too. So
you're probably right. I'm sure I'm wrong. I just
Latrobe, however you want to say it. I'm from Southwest Pennsylvania. Joyo's Pizza. To me, it is the world's greatest pizza.
Got to get that 30 cut too. That's what I'm talking
about. Sir. Yes, sir.
Cut. I got to write that down. A 30 cut. That might be the 30 cut with Moose. Dude, I sincerely appreciate your willingness to have an honest conversation today about maybe a topic that a lot of people don't want to talk about, but I think thank you for your time. I appreciate following along with you. And man, I cannot remember. Did you record your kill in Maryland?
No, it happened about 5 seconds, so I didn't get that one.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
We're gonna try the PA one. We I like not to get kicked off the addiction team, so we're gonna try to get on film. God, they love me. I love them guys, but
yeah,
I still got a job to do.
Yeah. Are they pretty particular about getting them footage every year?
No, they are. I said, man, you hear a lot of rumors out there. I'm telling you what, the Quisto family has been awesome to me. And then just the whole team in general.
Yeah.
It is a brotherhood. It is a family. Really, I'm truly blessed to be a part of this team. I will say that.
Yeah, I love that. The Mobile Hunter Roadshow is one of my favorite events all year.
Oh,
Not
love
just because I love that I believe in the products, but because the people that are there are
it. Yes.
genuinely good people. It is a
Yep.
educational event, and
Yep.
it's fun to see everybody. It is like you're hanging out with your homies, and I love
Oh
it.
yeah. 100%. 100%. Yep.
Well, Moose, Ryan, I really appreciate it, brother. I want to keep in touch with you. Everybody, I suggest you go follow him on Instagram, again, where he's most active. And again, thanks for everybody for sticking around. And make sure you go give Moose a follow. Thanks, everybody.